And now we're recording.
Do you need introduction for anybody online or do the next stuff? Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right, call the meeting, Morrow County Clean Water in order. And we'll start with the approval of the agenda. Did I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, here a second?
I'll second that.
Moving second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, we'll go on the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody wants to pull out and talk about on those three items?
I will say that Kevin couldn't be here today. And last week as he was getting ready, he had graduation, and he was going to be leaving. So I just told him we'll just move the May financial report to July when May. So we'll do May and June together. So it's on. I left it on here just so I could say that, even though it's not in.
Oh, it's not in there?
No, it's not. So because he was not able to in time.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda less the financial report.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, let's just get with our business items. 4A, Managing Director Report.
All right, so officially finished the website. Obviously, I'll continue to update it and whatnot, but everything's there that hopefully you guys have requested or that we've put there. If you have any other suggestions or ideas or tweaks, by all means, just let me know. But that's now kind of like the hub of our information. So that is up and going, and we officially have Morrow County Clean Water Consortium business cards. So I made those and
Nice.
ordered some. So take some, pass them around, so you can hand them out to other people if they need them. It's just my contact information and whatnot, but I have plenty more if we need to. So other things, again, there's other things I've been involved with, but some of the other highlights, of course, is the May 13th presentation of Board and City Council, which we'll talk about more a little later. And we did start some of our visits with some of our local community members, some informal, some formal. And some of those happened actually after, I know some of you attended the Environmental Quality Commission, the DEQ, or it's actually EQC as part of the DEQ, a meeting at the Sage Center, which was shortly after, the same week we had our last meeting. So I participated in several, well, I attended, I wouldn't say I participated, but some great presentations by, OWRD and the LUGWAMA, as well as representatives and testimonials from, representatives here at Report, Justin Green of H2OEO, and West Glen United. And it was there too that I was able to actually meet with several of those members of West Glen United, had a great conversation afterwards, and hope to continue those conversations. Funding wise, we continue to get, we have the agreement with OHA to get our SEP funds, and that's we're just kind of waiting for them to move things forward. But everything that we don't have any issues with it. And we got also our amended letter, award letter from CREZ 2, stating that we do have the 40%, and I didn't include it in the packet because I got it post packet, but I do have that updated letter now authorizing 20% of the $400,000 for operational expenses. So similar to what we had in 25 as well. So, and of course, I think last meeting we had one of our CIP requests that had made its way through committee, and then a couple days later, the second one has been recommended to committee. This is a big deal because our proposals were among the only SIP requests from Eastern Oregon that made the cut. And they're, again, pretty optimistic that they're going to get funded. So exciting, but still it's just the next step. So
So we had two, remind me?
correct, we had one for a pilot project for basically a small water district. We're gonna find a cluster, and see they're both feasibility studies. And then the other one is, a creative way using HUD funds to make improvements to private homes and wells for the people who are truly rural and
Not connecting to
not
it.
connecting to any other source. Yeah. And it was a creative, again, it's a being creative way to use HUD dollars, to make, private improvements using public funds.
And remind me that one is income based.
Yes,
Pick one.
yeah,
Okay.
HUD is always income based, so.
Okay.
What's the restrictions on the sub funds?
It's not really restrictions, we're just waiting for OHA they just already exist and we just are waiting for them to transfer that.
So I just wondered if a certain percentage, how can those be used, administrative or?
Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have restrictions.
So the SIP program is specifically,
Not SIP,
we
the
did
SEP.
set.
Yeah,
We
SEP.
had to do a specific project and we wrote that for engineering for water, to set up so it can go to engineering and such. I think we've got that. I don't have a copy of that write-up right now, but data is for doing that. And, we wrote it around kind of boosting the, for West Lynn and other, unincorporated areas to go to an actual project. So this does have to be very project specific, so it wouldn't be going to the administrative fees or whatnot. It's project driven. That's it.
All right, and then, again, we at the Boardman City Council workshop, a couple of you were able to attend that. I've just spent time, we'll talk more about the IGA, and a little later in the meeting, but, also just doing some research and reaching out to some of our partners, and resources with the League of Oregon Cities and Willamette Partnership, getting some additional information that the, city council requested. Particularly, they are looking for information about other municipalities who sell their water outside of their city boundaries, and how people do that. So,
That's good.
so I'm working with that. There's actually, a lot. Now, there's varying degrees of what that looks like, and so that's why I'm kind of pulling it all together so they can make informed decisions based on what other municipalities or water districts do.
Yeah, that's really good. Cause I think that more global perspective is really helpful. Cause it's not uncommon.
Well, what was funny, and maybe I know Matt did some research too, Brandon's done some phone calls for it, but what was funny when I talked to the League of Oregon Cities and some other contacts, like literally they all said, man, this is something we should just have. And they don't. The state doesn't technically have just a database that's specific to water and the types of, because cities can do pretty much whatever they want within, state law and stuff, but they didn't have, because they didn't have a database already that exists with this information, meaning the types of ways in which they might sell the water. Or what restrictions and all that, or even if they do or not. So it kind of spurred something from particularly the lobbyist at LOC who I talked to, who he's like, this is going to be my new project. So
To
anyway,
help other cities navigate.
correct. Yeah, it's just because he's like, you're not the only one with this question, and he's like, I don't know why we don't have a database already. So, but anyway.
That's good, good.
Yeah, and so you could see other stuff in my report there, but those are some highlights.
Sure, I have a question. So under your stakeholder and community engagement, how is Project Pathway and Stepping Stones Alliance? What's the strategic alliance there?
So Brandon referred me to them, and so I went and I've met with Jesselyn. I met her in other circumstances before, but I had never actually been out there. They are looking to, again, this is kind of a stretch for us, even though Brandon Brandon's like, no, you need to meet with them. Like, I think this would be good. As I don't know if you guys know this or not, but are you guys familiar with Stepping Stones
Mhm.
and
Okay.
Project Pathway? Okay. They provide the homeless services that's required under law now for communities to have a plan around that. And Irrigan and Boardman became voting members to that recently, just in the last couple of months.
Okay.
It's really the project's really led by Umatilla and Hermiston. They're the primary funders of it, but Irrigan and Stanfield and Umatilla County are also partners with this to meet some of the legislative requirements. Anyway, they have a wonderful facility and everything set up with some small units and some plans for expanding, all that great stuff. The challenge is they are within the Laguama. They are outside city limits, and they use a well to access their water. Now they have treatment for it, but their current treatment system, which takes up a ton of space, yeah, it limits them to what they currently are at. Even though their site can actually double the amount of residents it serves, they can't because of the limitation of water, because of the nitrate contamination. So they are outside. They are in Umatilla County, but the stretch is, so I met with her. I talked to her, and we just talked about some other funding options. And I said, really, the only way I can get involved outside of just me personally supporting, but as the Morrow County Clean Water Consortium, is if the county and Boardman and Irrigan and us as a commission. I wasn't going to bring up anything with you guys because I just it's a longer term thing.
Mhm.
They have an opportunity right now. Umatilla, if you're not familiar, they are expanding their water system into Power City is the area that's close to them. There's Brownell neighborhood, but also Power City. And so that actually brings water much closer to them.
Mhm.
And it's about 3/4, not quite 3/4, maybe half a mile of pipe that they would need to get to them. Kind of like what we're doing, but what we want to do with West Glen, but they want to be able to connect to the municipal water, then they would no longer be limited. Their project would cost $1.5 million. So I just talked to her about some other opportunities and solutions and things, but again, emphasizing that technically I can't do anything as the managing director of the Morrow County Clean Water Consortium unless the county, Morrow County, were to become a partner. And just I said, in some roundabout sort of way, provide supports, but that's okay. So
Was that an existing site with a well, or did they?
No. And more than one planner said, you want to put a homeless facility not within walking distance of any public services or
Right.
groceries or anything. Anyway, that's the planner speaking, right? The effort was fabulous. The
Yeah.
leadership from the county and the city to develop the site was great. Would not ever have been a place. I mean, you build services where you can walk to them. I see people getting dropped off at 7 o'clock every morning and walking down Main Street in Umatilla. And they run really good programs, but among other things, it's not on a municipal system. So what do planners know?
yeah,
Anyway,
no,
but the effort, again, I don't want to take away from the effort, was very, very positive. And I know more about the uh Power City project than you want to hear from me
Yeah.
probably, but it was a model project. Lisa and I started talking about that, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Right after the drinking water emergency was made, we started talking about that's really a model for providing water outside cities and working with those communities, meeting what their needs are, changing the zoning, because that was the big roadblock for them. And I do think it's a model, and maybe talking to the city of Umatilla and some of those residents,
oh, I definitely have.
because but connecting not just you as the conduit to people, but having those people talk to neighborhoods, maybe the West Glen, because the first meeting with that neighborhood, they were like, heck no, we don't want anything to do with the city. And then the more, and the city had to give and the neighborhood had to give, and they ended up, I think, in a good.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about stepping stones and, you know, why not make the connection? So I'm still figuring out how to connect all the dots directly, but
Again, I think it's this Brandon, Boardman and Irrigan are new partners. So she met with them and then Brandon said, oh, you need to meet Jared and the Clean Water Consortium and maybe they can help you with your $1.5 million project. So I went there as a good partner. And,
yeah, good, for
and,
sure.
and we, again, great visit. I believe strongly in what they are doing. But, you know, indirectly, the consortium, this, at best, it's indirect to the support. So
The city's cost estimate to provide water to that site is 1 point. I don't think there was a well. The city owned the property, which is why that was what they contributed to it, which is why they picked that location in the middle of an industrial zone.
And they picked it too because they knew that there wouldn't be any public outcry against the location. That's always the challenge when you're selecting a homeless encampment. I mean, it's a wonderful facility. It's clean. They have a ton of resources and it's only and Stepping Stones, which is the nonprofit that runs Project Pathway. They are doing a tremendous, amazing job and pull together a lot of different resources to do what they do. And and their residents truly they're not transient. These are people who are from North Umatilla County and Morrow County. They've only had a couple from Morrow County, but
it is really set up to be a transitional.
yes, it's completely designed that
Service.
and ideally they have in their long-term plans to actually build an apartment complex to provide that next step in transition as well. But again, they can't do any of that expansion, even though there's demand because of the limitations of their water system.
Which they had to know when they bought the property.
They did, well,
The city
the city donated. It was all a collaboration
Yeah.
from start. They know that this is a long-term investment and project. This is just their next project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
The port was a conduit for $1 million of state funding going into that
Oh.
facility.
well, I also told them to contact you too, because I said, hey, there's another valuable partner in the region. They're willing to partner with anybody. So again, great conversation. And if you haven't been there, they're more than happy to show people around. And I know Gus Peterson is going to be there this week, I think, and some other county representatives at different times. But
And I have one more question, putting the funding and putting pipes, and just wanted to call out that and last month we approved the budget that includes 25,000 for Dakota Consulting, and he's been helpful with these as well. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for his ability. I mean, I think you're doing a great job, but lean on him to do a lot of the technical stuff. And once you get the grant, then the work actually starts. Because you have the monitoring and compliance of administering grants. Lisa probably knows a lot about that as well. It's especially, and Nick knows water projects in and out. I do have a question about that. I can hold it till later, but we budgeted that for Nick Ducote. Did we go through the proper procurement for his services specifically for the Clean Water Consortium? I know we did for Morrow County.
So when we addressed this, we had adopted our procurement processes and we adopted it under the cap of what we're allowed to do without going out to bid.
Okay, so he was
that's
under.
$100,000 for engineering and $25,000 for professional services.
Okay, good. Thanks. I forgot about that. That's good. So you're golden. I'm just glad he's still in there because I know you're doing this, but he's.
oh yeah, no, I've talked to Nick a lot. In fact, we just emailed back and forth about meeting because I gave him a long list of things for fiscal year 27, and so we're meeting probably the next week. Really, technically not till July because we don't have a work we've extended or expended all of our funds for this fiscal year for him. But we'll probably meet in June or late June or July around just some of the things that I would like him to.
And he, if you probably know this, but well, I'll state it for whoever wants to listen, is he was also very instrumental with our initial congressional direct spending
Oh, yeah.
for the roadmap project, and has looked at other projects with us since then. So I think he's got skin in the game and has passion for it as well.
Yeah, what did he say? He acknowledges they're not all consortium projects, but they're consortium related projects. And we're
right.
5 for 5 right now, which
good.
is crazy. He's like,
Yeah,
that's like never are you 5 for 5 on congressionally directed spending requests.
good. Yeah.
And currently for water projects in Luguama, he's 5 for 5.
Great.
So
We're sinking. Thanks for that.
Any other questions? I had a comment on the website's very handy. I've sent it out, the link a couple times. Once to the media, it just got everything on there, you know. It just say, hey, they want to know about it. Hey, here it is. Send them the link. So it looks good.
And
Easy to get around too.
And I have actually gotten my first few emails from that site as well. So one was a media request that I spent some time on the phone with, and then one was a request for a pilot project that I just need to get more information on it. They are trying to push a product, but they need a pilot around it, and they said we might be an ideal circumstance for it. So it's a company based out of Chicago, but I'm like, hey, if you're going to give us free stuff. So we'll see. I need to get more information, but they reached out via that. That's how they found me. So
I think we got something like that too.
you and the city of Boardman and a whole bunch of people were CC'd on it. I figured I'll be the one to respond, since it really only applies directly to me.
Okay, any other questions, Jared? All right. Next, we'll get up our roadmap project update. Ronan and Tamara.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Tamara, do you want to
Well,
introduce anything, or should I just jump in?
Yeah, go ahead and jump in, because everybody knows Ronan.
I'm Ronan Gloria with GSI Water Solutions, and Jared asked me to provide a 10-minute or so update on the roadmap project. And I know probably most folks in the room are aware or tracking the project, so I'm kind of going to keep it at a high level. It's going to be a mixture of a recap overview and status of kind of where we're at and where we're going to go in the next couple of months. We're at the tail end of the project now, so wanted a good opportunity to catch up the consortium and make sure if there's any questions, kind of what we're doing. So I have a few slides just to help guide the update, but I should be able to fly through that fairly quickly. And if there's any questions, we can go over that. So I'm just going to share screen here. Can folks see that?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, so I'll provide a quick recap and sort of update, and here's what's next coming up on the roadmap project. So before I do that, I want to just kind of remind folks where this roadmap project sits in the context of recent and many ongoing activities in the Love Guama. So orange here is our roadmap project, kind of right in the middle of, ongoing work with the Love Guama committee itself, dealing with the nitrate and groundwater resource issue itself. Of course, the drinking water services program by OHA, OREM, with the testing and the emergency water deliveries, and that ongoing effort. A lot of the data that was generated from that early work and ongoing work feeds right into our roadmap project. So we're using that data. There was that West Glen feasibility study that Morrow County got funded for right as we started the roadmap project, and then the work went ongoing as sort of in parallel, so that feasibility study wrapped up, and we've been kind of referencing that project throughout our work. And then there's this upcoming OREM treatment pilot study. My understanding is they've got pilot treatment equipment and contractor in place now, I think, and they're about to get ready to start that process, which will go through mid-2027. They've got some property owners that we sort of assisted in some ways on the roadmap project to help identify some of those property owners, and I think they're about ready to launch. And I don't know, Tamara or anybody else has heard an update, but that's my latest understanding on that. And then, of course, this current group with the Water Consortium, Clean Water Consortium. So hopefully the work that we're doing with the roadmap feeds into the funding and implementation work that the consortium is going to be working towards. So that's kind of how we fit into all these different activities. Reminder, kind of just, we set up our work to happen in 4 stages. We're on the 4th stage now, just starting that. First stage focused on getting all the information, getting some work plans pulled together. Stage 2 focused on looking at the public water system connection options. That was really the focus of the EPA grant funding that's funding the roadmap project. But we are also looking at these what we're calling non-connection options, non-city water system connection options in their stage 3, which we just essentially wrapped up last month. And then we're moving into stage 4, which is really starting to develop this action plan. And I'll get into kind of the next steps here, the next couple of months as we're working through stage 4. So just work products, stage 1 again, we developed the work plans for the early part of the project. We developed a quality assurance project plan for the sampling that we were going to do under the project. So that was approved back in October of 24. In the stage 2, we started collecting those targeted well sampling to confirm some of the OHA data and existing data that's out there. We developed the documentation around the water system connection concepts. That was October of last year. And then from there, we were working on the follow-up sampling, did some outreach and survey work throughout the process and summarized that. And then we just wrapped up the draft of the non-system connection concepts, and the steering committee for the project has been reviewing that. And we're expecting some comments here. Basically now we're starting to receive those comments. And just a reminder, so the way we approach this again is we created these focus areas. We identified 17 discrete focus areas around the Guama, kind of just targeting representative areas, both geography, proximity to cities, more isolated or more rural, wherever there were hotspots, kind of just representative of different situations we might run into as we're evaluating these concepts. So that was the idea of these focus areas, and we'll kind of reference those throughout the project, and you'll see a little bit more of that in this quick update. On the connection concepts, we had an engineer, HDR, develop these water system connection concepts, existing city systems. So those were near Boardman, near Irrigan, Umatilla, and then Hermiston. So we had 4 kind of general areas where these focus areas were, adjacent to these city systems, looked at conceptual designs, interviewed and worked with the city representatives to think through some of their objectives and preferences and some of the governance preferences that they identified. We wrapped in some of the homeowner survey information that we were pulling together, work that Consortium was doing. Did I hear a question?
No, I was just, that's just me mumbling, affirming, yes, sorry.
And then, of course, financial, that's a big part. We'll refer to that a few times. These projects aren't cheap, as you guys know. They're in the tens of millions of dollars for these, larger sort of extension projects that were conceptualized. So the work that the consortium is working on ties definitely into, especially the ones on the Morrow County side, with the concepts that were developed into this part of the work. So this is just an example. I think you've seen these maps. This one's the Area 2 and Area 3 near Boardman. Just referring to the West Glen, you guys can, that's kind of like this smaller area here. The concept that was developed was much larger. There's a much larger system, a lot more expensive. But part of what we were looking at was, what does this look like if we were to try to serve the furthest most extent that was reasonable to extend the system to for the impacted areas and see what does that look like. And you could always scale back from there. So that's the concept that's in place and could be sort of leveraged into follow-on work. Then there was, going into stage 3, looking at the non-city connection concept. So there's sort of a couple of parts to this. There was the system concepts piece where it wasn't connecting to an existing system, but creating a small sort of independent system, classified as these Oregon very small systems, so 4 to 14 connections, and then slightly larger community water systems that are 15 connections or more, sort of conceptualizing what that would look like. And these system concepts are comprised of a shared well for connected homes. So that could be a new well or an existing well that is usable with some improvements. And then all of these systems would have some kind of treatment associated with it, kind of package treatment that would go treat the nitrate to serve to these residences. So those treatment options, we had another engineering firm, Morrow, looking at the treatment options focused on ion exchange, reverse osmosis, and then biological treatment, biological reduction. So they looked at the different infrastructure and O&M requirements around that. Again, sort of considered some of the resident preferences from the survey information. The big thing that came out of that process was, how do you deal with the waste stream and residuals from that treatment process? So that was a driver of how the systems were sized and some of the issues that were identified with developing or sort of integrating these treatment options with these small systems. Then we also looked at non-system concepts. So this includes, continuing with the point of use treatment under the sink or whole home systems, looking at bulk water delivery with cisterns and tanks. So looking at what are really the opportunities and constraints around doing that for the area. And then water harvesting. These weren't really feasible in the context of if we were trying to look at objectives to longer term or larger production for potable water. There's some niche applications that might be useful for, but in terms of kind of the broader potable demands, the water harvesting is pretty limited application these situations. Again, here's just a quick listing of some of the issues around the non-connection options, operation and cost sharing, the agreements, identifying a set of households that would be willing to kind of partner up and get on a shared system. That's a big challenge. Looking at domestic versus how do you serve irrigation uses? So again, related to this waste management or residuals piece, the concepts that we were looking at was really geared towards serving just the domestic use. Because if you are trying to serve irrigation use, it generates a lot of residual, and trying to deal with that waste management piece becomes an issue. On the delivery options, the bulk delivery options, there's some opportunities there in terms of the cities, some of the cities being able to serve as a source for the water delivery, but the main constraint around that is there isn't a sort of a delivery infrastructure out in that region. So it's sort of market driven. So there's opportunities there, but it's sort of, we have to create the market for folks to get interested in providing that service. There's some further out opportunities, but those obviously will add a lot of cost. So we talk about that in the stage 3 documentation. And then again, public homeowner acceptance and preferences, and then cost. Some of the cost information we're seeing is maybe not a complete surprise, but these smaller system non-connection options are as or likely more expensive on a sort of per household basis than the connection concept. So all that information we're pulling together coming out of stage 3. So this is an example.
Ronan,
Yep.
Ronan, I got a question on that last slide.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it on the previous one too. That waste management, I don't know everything about systems, but could you give us an example of what that is and how much quantity you're talking about? What would cause waste management for non-city connection option?
Yeah, so that's part of the treatment process. Like for example, ion exchange, the residuals from that treatment process generates a lot of like saline water that needs to get disposed. And so, there isn't a sewer system obviously to dispose of that residual from the treatment of the water. And so I think you've heard some of these whole home systems generate a lot, and it's causing problems for septic systems because that's sort of where the discharge would go. So that's just you treating the potable. When you're trying to treat larger amounts of water, if you're trying to treat for irrigation water as well, then it really generates a lot of residual water, right? So that's the primary sort of constraint in these small systems. And where do you put that waste residual? You could deliver it, do kind of a storage, and then deliver it and pick it up and bring it to one of the city sewer systems, or you could have store it and then have it picked up and hauled away. So those are the main options that you could do. Land applying it obviously is kind of, there's concerns and issues around that. So permitting that, it could be a challenge, especially in that area. So those are some of the things that we're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Takes a lot of water to run the ion exchange and the biological treatment. And then if it's a full system reverse osmosis, and individual households and half-acre, 2-acre lots and their existing system isn't designed to take all that wastewater.
How much are we talking about? 10% of the usage or
You mean how much
well,
additional
if somebody
water
gets
use?
X number of gallons, or
Oh, in terms of volume?
connection, fresh water, how much of that will end up as, I was just curious. It's because I hadn't heard that much about that before.
I don't have the
Yeah.
gallon estimate.
Is it a
Yeah, I have
lot?
to look at it's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. I just wondered.
I mean, we don't have it on this map, but just as an example, for a system like this, where you got, I think there's something like 15 or 18 homes connected to this concept. If you were to create like a storage pond to be able to deal with that residual, it'd be about the size of storage pond of maybe 2 to 3 times the size of this little structure here to be able to store it with operation and be able to haul it away kind of on a monthly basis. So it's a decent amount of water.
Okay, thank you.
The report, because the steering committee meets Thursday. And did you post the final draft of this on the website yet, Ronan?
I haven't. I'm still waiting for some comments from some of the members, and then we'll revise it once we get that. Yeah.
And we'll share that out once it's final. Yeah.
Just
It's well beyond my training to understand the engineering piece. It just a lot would be my answer to.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how many gallons. Yeah.
I didn't realize all that. Okay,
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so those are the concepts. I did want to just highlight some of the outreach and survey information that Consor was leading as part of the team. So they distributed a lot of surveys for all those focus areas, got some information back. It's fairly consistent feedback from the well homeowners, cost, that some of the drivers there, the concerns of cost, who owns the system, and then being able to maintain whatever system they get connected to, right? And one of the interesting graphics that Consor shares with the steering committee and our meetings is there's a strong preference for installing home water treatment, continuing with bottled water, and then some of these community system approaches and connections are kind of the smaller percentage of preferences from, at least from these respondents to this survey. That's been kind of a consistent response. We've had a couple of rounds of these surveys and kind of to different areas throughout the Lumquama. A driver is kind of that maintaining independence, concern about costs for a system, and that's reflected on these responses. Yeah, this is just a graphic that we've shared before, so I included it in here. And I think I mentioned some of these already, ownership of the systems, cost, and desire for independence. That was sort of the, some themes, consistent themes throughout the outreach efforts that we've done on the project. So that's kind of what we've done. Moving into kind of what we're gonna do to wrap up. We really, our contract ends in August, and so we're getting ready to sort of consolidate all the information from those previous stages, look towards what we're calling this action plan of identifying implementation opportunities, constraints to implementing these different, options. This kind of just lists kind of the highlights of those things, capital costs, affordability, how do you operate this thing long term, these whatever system or delivery, whatever the option it is that we're looking at. And then, is it effective? I think that's it's listed as the fourth bullet, but that's sort of a bottom or a foundational thing, right? You need to be able to address the nitrate issue for the residents. And then a key one is just cooperation alignment with the different property owners. That's one of the things that I think is, one of the challenges with this is there's different opinions and positions, and trying to get a consensus on a solution for a given area or cluster of homes is going to be an ongoing challenge, and there's going to be a need to continually educate and outreach and work with the residents to get a solution in place. So the action plan itself, we actually have a work session, as Tamara mentioned, this Thursday. So we're going to work with the steering committee, some agency folks, to do a work session and develop this action plan. Because the main thing we want to have is this is a research project, first of all, so that has to fulfill some of the research sort of requirements of the EPA grant. But we want to have something that can be usable for things like the consortium's working on, right? Identifying projects and how do you prioritize what to do next, and identify appropriate funding sources and things. So that's kind of what we're planning for the action plan. That's going to be our focus over the next month and a half to create that document and address these issues, really come up with a decision framework. How do you prioritize, what type of options you might pursue for a given area or situation? That's what that decision framework is going to be about. We're going to highlight what we see as public agency actions. So that includes from federal to the county level to potentially the cities. Then have these, opportunities and recommendations for what non-government parties can do, and residents themselves will identify some of those. And then the main thing is we'll identify some baseline implementation things. The challenge of identifying recommended projects is having the time and opportunity to engage with specific homeowners, which we've done through the survey, but trying to package that up into a project we can move forward with coming out of this sort of planning process and research is going to be a bit of a challenge. But I think that's where the SIP projects that Jared talked about is a nice tie-in. It already identifies sort of a framework for how to do some of that follow-on outreach to identify specific projects for homes. So that is something we want to try to tie into, take advantage of this SIP application that's in place and what this roadmap project can outline, connect those two. We'll also look at, different policy and rules, recommendation changes to help with implementation, and then obviously the funding opportunities is a key part of the action plan as well. So I'll just wrap up with timing here. We started stage 4 last month, creating this outline for this action plan. I mentioned the work session we have this Thursday with the steering committee and agency folks. We'll have a draft of this action plan in late July, and we're in the process of scheduling a public meeting, basically to provide this information in a public meeting forum, and we're shooting for an early August, trying to find a date that works for folks. I think it's looking like it might be the first week of August. We can get key folks lined up on availability, and then we'll be wrapping up this work by the end of August. So that's my rapid fire update. Jared, I don't know if there's questions from the board or others over there.
Any questions of Ryan?
If I may, I'll just make a comment. I've always thought of the work that this group does, and where we focus our efforts to provide funding for households in Morrow County. And remember, Umatilla County, we don't have a counterpart there, so I think I don't know what their plan is once this is completed, so it'll be information that's accessible to the public, but I've always thought of the final roadmap project again as a roadmap for us they've done a lot of the legwork. And including, when, a lot of the legwork with outreach. So, in this draft technical memo that I asked Ronan about a minute ago, there were really 3 focus areas where residents had indicated they were open to participating in a further dialogue. And many or most of them really weren't. So, there's 2 focus areas in Morrow County and 1 in Umatilla County. That doesn't mean there are 0 people in other neighborhoods, but at least where there were clusters. And that's probably something we can take a look at, so we don't have to duplicate. It's a good starting point for us if we look, taking off where this project ends.
Yeah, thanks, Howard, for pointing that out. I didn't call it out here. But yeah, we do have 3 areas that we developed some concepts around, kind of these very small system concepts that, you know, have anywhere from 5 to 10 homes. And so we do have a starting point, like Tamara mentioned, that could be picked up by the consortium.
Does not, that is, yeah.
Any other questions on this subject?
When's your meeting? What time is it here?
For 3 to 5 on Thursday, Ronan, Thursday afternoon
Yeah.
at the Stafford Council building. Is it 3 to 5 on Thursday?
It's 3 to 5 Thursday, yeah.
It's at the Stafford Hansel building. We alternate between the 2 counties.
We were going to get into the weeds a little bit and kind of work through the outline of the action plan. So it was sort of a targeted invitee this time.
Okay, anything else?
I know you were there. Do you want me there too, or not? Or just for this? Because I know what the work that gets done there, it then will be. Again, I don't, it's up to you.
I'd say, it took me a long time to read this technical report, but a lot of it is really engineering where you're talking about the 3 on-site treatment systems. It's really entirely up to you. If not this one, the next one that has the draft
Oh,
final
yeah, the next one I'd
recommendation.
be more interested.
I always think it's good to hear it and read it, especially if it's a little out of my normal kind of reading. So it's entirely up to you. But I think there's some good discussion. The steering committee is comprised, at least half of them are academics, so they ask some really good questions about the technology or the design.
And Tamara, I'll just point out for this work session that we're planning, one of the things we're hoping to discuss with the steering committee is sort of what decisions, if any, should come out of this roadmap sort of plan document, right? So that's part, besides the technical stuff and working through the action plan content, is, you know, is it an expectation that the Board of Commissioners or, you know, you're going to have some kind of decision, a statement coming out of this, or a decision process or adoption process. So that's another thing that we'll be talking about on Thursday.
It's more the policy piece. Is that what you're saying, Ronan? Yeah. And because we've had this discussion where we have 3 neighborhoods, certainly not the majority, where there was at least a critical mass of a cluster of homes who said they were receptive. The majority are not. And so what does that mean from a public policy perspective? Just leave it alone, and continue the public education that the public health departments and OHA is doing? Or is there another role for local government? It's an interesting public policy, conundrum, I would say.
I think that goes back to what you were saying about the Power City neighborhood in particular. Maybe the learning from that and how they started very hands-off, but eventually they unanimously wanted water, so.
They sure did,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was meeting after meeting and one-on-one visit, and the city met them where they needed to be in terms of delivery of system, zoning, and some other things. And we're talking, what, 1,000 homes in Morrow County?
It's a lot more of that.
And twice that in Umatilla County, so it's a lot, and they're all these decisions will be made on an individual and a neighborhood basis, so. Not to sound discouraging, it's just a big public policy
Now, when you
undertaking.
said that they weren't in favor, did they just not reply, or they literally told you they're not in favor?
I think I'd have to think of the questions, because we spent a fair amount of time. Consor is really, they're the communication outreach firm that's working under GSI. I think it was a continuum, wasn't it,
It's a
Ronan?
mixture, yeah. It's definitely a mix of combination, sort of a, like you said, continuum. There's some people who outright say, I mean, there was even some people who said, well, we've been drinking this water for a long time. It doesn't matter. We're just going to keep drinking it. From that perspective to like outright, no, we don't want to be connected, and very clear. And then folks who are sort of, well, we need to have more information, or it just depends on the cost. So it's a pretty, it was a continuum. But those themes that I had on the slides were pretty consistent. And when you look at the sort of the whole package of information, there was definitely a preference for not connecting and wanting to have some kind of independence and autonomy on how they're-
Yeah, those are the, if you want those, you can have those.
And I just sent this presentation to everybody too.
Oh, okay, good.
This one, okay.
Yeah.
One thing I like to tell, and I've mentioned in planning circles, we're not used to having this discussion in Oregon, really in the Pacific Northwest. But if you go to states like Wyoming, and I learned this at the Western Planners Conference a couple of years ago, their engineering department, which is their counterpart to Oregon Water Resources, they will fund and run water lines 20 and 30 and 40 miles out to individual households just to make sure people have clean drinking water. It's a whole different development pattern. And part of it has to do with funding and excise taxes from mining and things like that. But it's entirely new paradigm for rural residential or small farms and ranchettes developments in the Pacific Northwest.
And historically, culturally, we have relied on wells. Like we just,
Sure.
everybody's thought that there's these wells in Oregon that we can just always tap forever. So.
And you turn the faucet on and it's always there. Yeah, for sure.
Clean water.
Yeah.
So culturally, it's definitely different than Wyoming or even Midwest. So.
Thank you, Ronan.
Thank you.
So I think it's exciting. I think what we come up with in August, there will be a lot of things to think about other than just the technology and the funding.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, next up will be foreseen West Line Project, IGA and scope of work, Jared and Mike.
Okay, so Mike's, I don't know if Mike's on here or not, but we have an update to this as of sending this out on Friday.
Mike's here.
Is Mike there? Oh, okay. We were already set to go, and they were even going to present this to their council tonight to be signed. But kind of last minute, the attorney stepped in and decided that the boardman does not want the liability that this potentially creates. We can agree to disagree or whatever it might mean, but instead, so basically Boardman does not want to go forward with an IGA. They still want, in fact, let me just read his letter here.
What's the liability?
The liability for the system after it's done.
Yeah,
If they don't, because
they designed it.
they might not ultimately own it. And so if they design it, they don't want to have it pinned back on them if there's any issues.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the legal counsel, but it is what their legal counsel has
Okay,
recommended to.
the city to them, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll just read his statement, if that's okay, and then, so city staff have reviewed the draft IGA for the West Glen Water System Engineering Services with the city attorney and have concluded that the agreement as written represents too much legal risk for the city. To be clear, Boardman understands the seriousness of the water situation to our West Glen neighbors and will gladly continue the conversations with the consortium about the best path forward for addressing the public health crisis. Basically, they recommend we just go for an RFP. So we're kind of back to the RFP, and maybe Anderson Perry picks it up. If they win, you know, whatever that bid is, and basically they're doing it again, but they would be independent of the city of Boardman being part of that decision with the engineering.
You might have said it, but what date did you receive that on?
I got this today.
Okay.
I got the phone call from Brandon on Friday night.
Okay.
I was in Seattle, actually, and I believe he talked to Matt on Friday afternoon right before he talked to me too, so.
I talked to
But-
Brandon today as well.
Yeah, and like literally like Thursday, when I was putting out, they were all set to go. We were ready. I mean, that's why it's in the packet and everything, and we had worked out some of the details and the nooks and crannies, but unfortunately, this is where they are, where we're going with this. So I see this as a, you know, it's a step back. But the IGA was something we kind of, I mean, you guys actually threw that out there as a way to partner with Boardman, as a way to like, hey, you know, we are serious about this, and you already have an engineering department, like, you know, I don't think if we were to rewind, you know, 2 months ago before we had that suggestion was thrown out there, we would just be back where we were before with, but wait, we were recommending an RFP to get the engineering. I do believe we need that to still get done, because that's one of the pieces of information that even the Boardman City Council needed. We need to know the actual costs, and we need to start getting into some of the nitty gritty, the details of where the line's actually going to be and the connections, and what size pipe and where fire hydrants are going to be located, and some of those things that can't be answered until we have an actual engineering design. So
Did we, and I guess I should ask Mike, do we have an estimate on what this service should cost?
in the IGA that we were going
yeah.
to do,
Yeah,
it's in there.
I see
yeah, it's
it.
in there. It's about $500,000, and then another $500,000 for project management, if I'm saying that right, it's to make sure that whoever then does the constructing actually follows the plan. But again, that's a project cost. not
Which
a-
really only makes sense if the city is going to be delivering water through the system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying
Am I-
that we wouldn't still do that eventually, but for now, the RFP can just address the design. We were doing that. I had that extra added into the IGA because it was Boardman who was creating the plan, and then I was, okay, well, we'll continue to have Boardman also oversee this. Make sure that they are actually, whoever constructs this actually follows the plan, so we don't get a bunch of work change orders and other things that come up because they don't want to do it. So
Is Brandon on the call?
I don't think.
Yes, he is.
Oh, there
Okay.
it is, okay.
So do you have a concern if Anderson Perry doesn't get the RFP bid approval?
Nope. It's just what the process has to be. So the RFP is the RFP. So. Nope.
So they would likely have Anderson Perry review it on the city's dime as it's prepared and presented.
Yeah,
So the Anderson Perry might apply to do the work, but they might also be the quality control reviewer on behalf of the city, since that's the engineering firm of record.
If they didn't get the bid.
if they don't get the bid.
If they did get the bid, they just,
It's assumed that
the city.
Assume they know what they're doing. Okay. So that's our next step then, is, that's the way to overcome this, is to to go up for a bid. So the city's objection or the city's liability concern is about the process, not about the actual delivery of water?
Correct. They're still undecided. You know, there's people who are more undecided than others. But it's more of this really IGA and where we're at is really about process. They're worried about liability for if they
Design it.
if they design it,
Okay,
then if there's issues going forward, they would be accountable for that because they had a hand in designing it. They
okay.
want the process to be separate.
That's not, I mean, that's not a terrible,
No,
I
no.
see.
And
Yeah.
Brandon, I mean, even in his formal letter he sent, he said, look, we're still supportive. We need
Okay.
this information so we can continue to move forward on this. But our attorneys have said that we should not be taking this as a liability through just an IGA. So
Okay, okay. So then is your next step to do the full procurement?
with your authorization, I
Okay.
would, I didn't put that in here because this all literally happened on Friday night. And I'd already published a packet and everything and didn't feel that it'd be right to change things up in that amount of time, so I don't know if you guys can make a motion for us to just do an RFP or to authorize me to start that process, or if it needs to wait for another formal meeting. I don't know.
Yeah.
The legal
because
piece to
it's-
that.
Yeah, because it would, two pieces, I think, to your question. Sorry if I'm over explaining, but one is it would likely exceed $100,000. And that's your procurement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then two, can we take formal action
If it wasn't in the.
if it wasn't in the packet, and what was in the packet was the IGA?
Correct.
Is our,
Well,
is
we
our,
don't need to do the packet to take action, do we, Matt?
So I think the question would be we're gonna have to proceed with an RFP.
Yeah.
We need to,
yeah, yeah.
because that's our procurement action. The question is, does this board want to see the RFP before we issue it? And so, we can get one pulled together, by the end of this week, get it published. I'd be happy to commit the county services. We get, allow the port to do that as well. We can funnel it through. We've got boilerplate, RFPs that we put this scope of work through. We can get this done fairly quickly and posted.
What?
So-
To review the RFP is a technical type of thing.
Mhm.
What if we just appointed like Lisa, who's probably seen a zillion of them?
Yeah.
And have her take a look at it. And approve it with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So authorizing you, I don't know, I mean, it's.
Well, that's like question that authorizing me to move forward with what Matt was
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, I think I'm comfortable doing that, even though that specific board action wasn't listed. I think it's an outcome of the IGA. Does Lisa or Kelly, what do you think about that? Or Dave, what do you?
That's a situation that, yeah. I'm gonna ask Matt for his opinion on this. Do you have anything you wanna add on?
Or you're
that?
not making a determination on a contract or resolution or
Yeah.
anything like that. That's a true business determination.
Yeah.
Like if we were just suddenly to bring an engineering contract to you, that's a definitive spend action. This is just a direction to your director to proceed with the RFP because the IGA is not there, with the instruction to have Lisa give it a thumbs up before posting. I think that's just a basic motion and direction, guidance to your managing director because of the resulting actions of the IGA not being acceptable by
Yeah.
the city board.
Yeah, so you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with whatever you direct me to do. I just know that like you said, it's still in the spirit of the IGA. It's just we have to change direction to making it an RFP and follow now that process. It doesn't change what we want to do.
Yeah,
It just changes how we do it.
That's kind of the way I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Just altered it slightly. So,
Can I ask a question about the scope of work? Is the scope of work going to remain the same?
Yes, that's why that was why that was in the IGA, because the idea is we get the engineering design for West Glen and under the best, what is the best circumstances to do that? Meaning, is it gonna be down Paul Smith Road or Main Street?
It's either that or I think hold another meeting, because we gotta keep the ball rolling here, you go, okay, what are we gonna do? Wait another 30 days just to, come back and everybody go, yeah, looks good to me. I mean,
I just sent it to our engineer and Mark, so, but I didn't stand this scope of work, I'd like to do.
And you sent it to them about the procedural or the substantive issues?
Substantive issues, how's that?
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the question at hand is whether or not, because it wasn't specifically an action item, can we authorize Jared to move forward with RFQ? What was an action item clearly was the IGA and the scope of work, which it sounds like we won't approve. And in the alternative, give you the direction to move forward with the RFP.
well, that's that, but in other business, boards have approved action items with changes.
Sure, that's what I'm
So,
saying as
okay,
well.
okay,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
saying the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just because you change it doesn't mean you have to start all over again.
that's right. It's
Yeah.
not like it came out of thin air.
Yeah.
I would agree, yeah.
So basically, it's instead of IGA, it's West Glen Project RFP with scope of work.
And, but then you would anticipate after whatever notice period, you'd bring back the contract, the award to us.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah,
cause it will exceed 100,
yeah.
sorry,
no.
Kelly.
I think I would really like to have somebody look over the scope of work. Because something that was brought up in the meeting with the city was that this was going to connect water to the homes. And I don't see that in this scope of work. I see this scope of work as connecting to the property line. And that concerns me.
That is a good point, though. When I talked to Mike, can you address that? It was on here. Because that was also my question with Mike, and it does get into all of those details.
Yeah, there's inclusion of 70 water connections.
Is that connections to the homes or is that connections
Yeah,
to the property line?
70 water connections
To the homes, not to the
to
water.
the homes.
To the homes.
That's anticipating that not all in
That's-
West Glen will sign up.
Well, the engineering plan would theoretically cover all of them.
And what about down Paul Smith?
Yes.
Cause I thought that was 100 homes.
My math is actually, it's more than 100.
Total, so
It's 110.
within and outside.
Yeah,
Okay.
both the West Glen proper, the immediately close to West Glen and down Paul Smith. I think my numbers, I could look it up, but I think my number is actually 120
So this is
households.
going to engineer everyone's homes that have to have their sidewalks dug up, they're getting it down driveways that are, all of 3-4 acres across there.
Mhm.
This engineering is going to consider all of that.
Yes.
And
I mean-
remember, we had that really high level study done with the $50,000 Business Oregon grant, so this would be a much deeper dive than.
Yeah, well, that one was just to the connection to the home, to the end of the property too.
No, that one did include.
It did include the home connection too.
But it wasn't
But it was
actual
very-
boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Mike even pointed this out, like it will be, not to put words in your mouth, but like, that's where it gets complicated, but it's actually not as big of a cost as simply getting the water there. Getting the water there is the bigger cost. When you're actually, once you're to the equivalent of a meter space and then connecting the meter to the home, it's a lot smaller pipe. You're not going through infrastructure in most cases. You're connecting basically where does the water go into the house from the current well and putting that pipe to the house instead of it coming from the well.
So are we disconnecting those pipes? Are we redirecting their well water, which is going to do their irrigation water?
We
Or is
would-
all
we
that
would-
going to happen?
Correct me if I'm wrong again, and this would be part of the engineering, but you would cap the pipe going into the house. Because you don't want any of that water going into the
Right.
house, but they would still have full access to everywhere else that well water is being piped.
So they will be piping it to the house, so the houses that irrigate their lawns or their gardens off their house will have to use city water.
If that's where their water is coming from.
So we're not going to engineer any help or anything for them to get their well to their animals or their sprinkler systems or anything else that's connected.
Well, I want to be careful. We're making assumptions that they only have one spigot going into the house and then distributing from there. Or do they have it separating to multiple places before it even gets to the house? I know, again, the wells that I'm familiar with, most people, their irrigation is going to different locations and there's one line that goes to their house. That's my experience, and I just think it's going to be different for everyone, and we know that, but we don't know which houses will require what until we get the engineering study
So
done.
they're gonna do individual houses, okay?
And they'll probably make note of the ones that like, hey, this is what we have for this one, and then, that's something we could tackle later.
And that's in here where?
Where it says the 70 connections, approximately 70 connections.
Which we could up that for
Yeah.
the engineering to make sure it's improved.
And does this, I'm sorry, I didn't really take time to study this, but just to add to Kelly's comment. Does this make assumptions about whether or not the municipal water connection is in addition to allowing the individual resident to use their existing well for irrigation or not?
I can tell you, I've been working under the assumption that they will continue to be able to use their irrigator, their
Okay.
well for whatever purpose. 'Cause
Does that make
we're
sense?
not talking about sewer and we're not talking about a small system. Where then we have to worry about the wastewater.
Right,
But because this is just delivery of water one way,
for drinking.
for drinking.
It's for drinking, it's not for is that your understanding also, Mike? That the design, the engineering will assume that households that have their own well, because some of them are shared, this wouldn't require closing out that well. They can keep their well, and that this is designed to have both systems if that's what the landowner wanted.
So if you looked at this project or the scoping of this project at something that we can scope at this time, it's providing the potable water connection to the house. So when you look at a site specific or a piece of parcel, there's could be a million different things going on with the current water system that they have. So in order to scope this project and define what the services would provide, it would be providing a meter, a backflow preventer, and a connection to the household. So beyond that, it's going to be specific to each home, and that's impossible to scope at this time and put a cost towards. So what's included is the meter, backflow preventer, and connection to the house.
Okay, that helps a lot, okay. And so as long as it keeps the option open if somebody wanted to, I don't know.
I mean, what people
Probably
do
should
with
be doing the same thing.
their well is, I mean,
Is theirs.
they by all means, it's their well, and they can use
Yeah.
it for whatever they want.
Okay,
Well, scope of work doesn't mention anything about even touching the well. I mean, making any changes at all to them, so.
It's just getting the.
Just capping on
Yeah,
the well
to the
connection to
house.
the house.
Well, it would have anything to do
Okay.
with what they do with the well.
And we can add that into the scope if we need to be specific, and the cost of capping the connection, not the
Right.
well, just the connection into the home.
right, that might be good to clarify, because I think a lot of people are watching this to decide whether or not they wanna join in.
And I'll
So,
be
and-
honest, I've been.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, when you write the RFP, you can scope the RFP appropriately to really define what the scope includes for each individual household. But that's going to be very difficult from an engineering perspective, not knowing what each individual household's water system currently looks like. So that's, I don't know. It's just hard. There's a lot of unknowns at this point with what's going on with people's houses. We know they've got wells. We know they're connected to their houses, and the project scope at this point is just getting them potable water.
Okay, thank you. If I had read it, I probably would have had to ask that question. Okay, so are we ready for a motion to on this?
And we have the money that's available to pay for all of this. That's good to go for engineering purposes and.
We don't know what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, but this would fall under capital.
I mean,
So,
all we're doing is preparing an RFP.
yeah, well, yeah, right now, just preparing an RFP, so really that's nothing.
Yes.
That's right. And you can always have a clause in there that says, you know, we have the ability to withdraw if funds are not available, but we do have funds available.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We do have $3.8 million allocated for infrastructure. Basically in the bank.
Okay.
So, you know, how much that, you know, the RFP ultimately cost for the engineering, I should say, how much the engineering actually cost us, we'll take away from that and we'll need to find more money.
Yeah, just to clarify that, we have money reserves from CREZ distributions and the promise of the set funds to cover engineering. The 2.85 is lottery funds that will become available in 2027 as we gear up for construction. So there we go. Yes.
Okay.
We do have.
Unless we
monies
can find a
available.
way to fund that and get reimbursed from lottery funds.
So we do have ample funds available to cover the engineering contract as.
Because a lot of grant funding allows coverage of a large percentage of the engineering.
This one.
Okay.
We just have to wait and cover those costs if we want to start beforehand. And we would want to make sure with OBDD that, hey, we're starting, we need a letter saying you will reimburse us for these engineering funds because we're spending them before the grant monies directly available. But those are all things that we have chatted with them already about.
Oh, good.
And so we haven't got a formalized letter, but as if we get an RFP out and we're ready to go under contract, we'll be having that before we bring the contract to you.
So you're talking with Ryan DeGroff, or you're talking with?
We have a different contract with the OBDD for this
Gail?
project.
Or somebody?
Not Gail. Can't recall right off the top of my head.
It's okay.
I know Ryan.
Yeah.
I coach his kids in soccer.
Oh, that's
So-
great.
Yes, but we do have one that's reached out to us and we're on. It's
Brian's part of the original wraparound focus group. It's the government's version of a school wraparound. The community solutions team meeting that we had several years ago, kind of looking at, okay, this is what we have, what are our next steps to provide services to West Glen, because it seemed like the most obvious one. So
Yeah, when I knew him, he wasn't working for
he was,
Business Oregon.
okay.
And so
yeah.
when I made some contacts with Business Oregon, that, you need to talk to Ryan DeGroff. I'm like, wait, there can't be more than one Ryan.
That's right.
So it just, we had a good conversation later, so.
Oh, good. I think he'd be really supportive. I mean, that's the direction from the governor's office and the ambassador or the lead on this nitrate issue. So would an appropriate motion be to not approve the proposed IGA and instead to direct Jared to pursue an RFP for the engineering
Well, I don't
services?
think you have to put in there just don't do it. Just put your motion what you want them to do.
Okay, I'm just trying to stay with the script.
The concept, okay.
Yeah, the scripts, the proposed motion is.
I mean,
to approve the
I guess it
IGA.
doesn't make any difference. You
If
put in
you
there.
prefer to wordsmith.
No,
I'm happy.
that's okay. It just seems. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go for it.
Okay, so I'd propose that we not approve the IGA with the city of Boardman and instead direct Jared to pursue an RFP for engineering services for the West Glen project.
Here, second,
I'll second.
been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, next up is our advisory board responsibilities, and it's Jared and Kelly.
So last meeting, Kelly asked if we could add this to our agenda. It started with, you know, if they're not participating, then, you know, do we need to look to change up who is on our advisory committee and whatnot? And I suggest that we start with what are their roles and responsibilities. Just like anything, you can't really say can't be on the committee unless they don't know what they're supposed to be doing one way or another. So I just did some homework, looked at some research, a lot of different, obviously you guys know there's lots of different committees out there and advisory committees of one, government advisory committees of one form or another. And so this is kind of what I threw together as simply a starting point for conversations around the actual duties, responsibilities. And then if they're not fulfilling those duties and responsibilities, that's also on here around appointment and removal. So you have time to look at that. And Kelly, do you have anything else to add? Or I don't know if anyone looked at these yet, but.
I don't know that we ever did. We put a time limit on their serving time. Was it 2 years?
I couldn't find anything
I don't
in
think
our
we did.
previous notes or anywhere in our IGA or our bylaws.
Lifetime commitment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, indentured servant.
And we never did get a letter.
Yeah, I think we did too, so
And-
thank you for being
And
so
Isabel,
active.
do you have a copy of this?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Oh.
this was something we definitely would love your feedback on and.
So I did look at it beforehand, and the only thing that I had a question on was, representatives of unincorporated areas of the city of Boardman, which I'm not. So I don't know if I necessarily need,
Oh, you live in the city?
yeah,
I mean, I pulled that from the language of our when the only language in our bylaws, this paragraph that's the only language about our advisory board I pulled. Or I mean, within it, so I put it in here. So yeah, we can change that. This is
my, my mom lives on Hilltop, so I
Okay.
don't know if that.
You're a good
necessarily
proxy.
I'm a representative of her.
So maybe we could just change that language to the greater Boardman community, so it isn't, it could be, what is it, 97818? Rather than city limits.
And our city reps are the managers, is that right?
technically it's Mike or Boardman, but yeah, Brandon or Mike.
Okay.
Okay.
Good with it?
On number 3, there's a funny semantic piece under the second bullet, be as a, maybe serve as a trusted.
No.
But I think, I like what you did, Jared, I think it's just BA.
It's probably just, yeah, not the as, take the as out, BA.
Do we have any other advisory committees online?
Mike,
I saw Debbie's.
Debbie and
Oh, is she, she's one of the irrigant people? And she's not on, yes, she's.
Her note taker is on, but she's no longer on.
Okay. She may have found a dinner.
And I will say, Anna Maria texted me, she's sorry she can't be here, she couldn't get off work until after 5 o'clock, so.
that's something that we may struggle with.
Yeah, with our time.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, that's why I was careful, even when I was looking at all the different variety of guidelines or job descriptions for advisory positions. Most of them use that language where causes for removal may include, so it's at the discretion of the board. And these are suggested reasons to remove somebody, but it's ultimately at your discretion as the voting board members. So.
Isabel, other than that comment, do you have anything? Well, thank you for you win an award for best attendance and best participation.
We will not be removing you.
yeah, let's
Safe.
change it to one advisory member.
I do have a question though, if we do change this, this is in our bylaws, this language that says unincorporated areas. So if we change our bylaws, I believe that requires a resolution, not just a approval of a description or something. Because this is the only place in our bylaws that talks about our advisors. So that's just a note, and not that we have to do that tonight. I could do the formal resolution, changing the language for next meeting.
Because our bylaws call out specifically.
Our bylaws specifically say that our advisory board is to be made up of these people. One industry rep, one
Kind of
rep.
important that we get that changed.
Correct. So I mean,
Yeah.
so if we are gonna change it, that's my only, and anything else, I don't think would require a resolution, just a motion to approve, because it's just guidance. But if we actually change the makeup.
Just to reconcile so they're consistent.
Yeah, because a resolution would mean a change to our bylaws, which it's fine. This fucking side.
Well, I propose that you bring that to us next time, put it on the agenda to change the bylaws. To
And
add
then,
these.
are you comfortable making
Yes.
this
Yes.
adopting this now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
It-
want just to take on it? Well, go ahead, sir.
Is there a way to just change the sentence that says these advisory board members will consist of one industry, one rep from Boardman, one rep from Erican, 4 from unincorporated? In
And remove the reference to unincorporated.
advisory board members may consist of instead of shall, will.
Oh, maybe.
So instead of will to may.
And that would take care of the need to
To
change our
change
bylaw.
our bylaws.
Well, it would still require us to change the bylaw because we're changing will to may.
Oh,
This whole quote is out of our bylaw, so
the
anything.
in
changing-
accordance, oh, okay,
Which it's okay, like I said,
okay.
it's okay for us to do that, it's just the technicality of changing it from motion to a resolution,
Okay.
because then it becomes binding.
I still like the fact that we set that standard though, for those are the people that we have set up, so that we make sure that we don't, end up with more industry folks than citizen representation.
And-
And that's how we set it up in the beginning, so it was,
I think so too, and I think removing that need to be an unincorporated, because I think we should be agnostic about city limits and look more holistically at a community, so you can live in the city limits or outside the city limits.
I thought we had something in there about that they had to have a well, wasn't that part of our?
There was
I
nothing in there.
don't think so.
I think the intent was that.
Yeah.
because they can speak to that, whether or not you're doing it for your mother or you're just familiar.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable having a citizen person on our advisory committee that doesn't have a
Skin in the game.
skin in the game.
Well, you already do though.
Yeah, our most valiant attender technically does not meet this qualification. That's valiant advisor, there we go.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Because when we picked him, didn't we pick him on that? That they were,
We asked each city manager to find representatives for each city and they tried. And were not successful.
because they don't. They don't go outside their city limits to look, right? They know the people inside the city, not so much outside.
Well, I think Aaron did a good job.
He had names,
Yeah.
they just
And-
didn't want to do
Yeah,
it.
none of
Well,
them.
also, but, one has been active, Barb,
Yeah.
Barb has been
Sometimes every
active.
once in a while,
Mhm.
online.
Okay, so where are we?
Well,
What,
we,
what if?
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what if the language, so, with 4 representatives from areas around the city of Boardman, and then just add a sentence with preference for people from unincorporated areas. Like, I think that's the challenge, like, we're looking for people, because technically we're serving unincorporated
Right,
areas.
yeah,
But the challenge is we're gonna have people who are willing to serve and will be just as valuable as people who, just because they happen to live there. Again, they're an advisory board. That's the other thing too. Remember, they're just that. You're not bound to anything that they
That's
decide.
not true, because if we get the advisory board together and they meet, then we are responsible for having, public meetings, those type of things, and their advice. If it comes to just you, you're fine, but if it comes to our board, then it's.
But it's just advice.
That's just
They
advice.
get
They are
the-
not voting members. That's why you could have anybody on it that you want. You could decide someone from Salem should be on it. Like that's up to you as a board, because they are advising you as a board.
Well, I think people could give us all different kinds of advice, and whether it's good advice doesn't necessarily mean whether they have it well or not. That's my thought, And so I think I'm fine with what you just said.
And has Debbie been serving as a unincorporated Irrigan or as an industry?
Debbie she is Irrigan at lunch. I have,
Okay,
so Anna Maria,
outside.
Myra Collin, Isabel Gonzalez, and Zaira Guzman are our boardmen. And Debbie Ratty, Gib Evans, and Barb Phillips are our Irrigan at large. And then
And all
Mike
3 of
Lees,
those are outside city.
and Mike Lees and Aaron Palmquist for the cities. And Justin Green is our industry representative.
I liked your language that said the preference for, either somebody who lives in the unincorporated area or has a vested interest. Your mom would be a vested interest, wouldn't she?
And one day, hopefully not in the near future, it's gonna be my property.
Oh,
so,
sure.
In
in a long, long time.
a
Yeah.
long time from now.
I'd say that's a vested interest. Okay.
I'll come back with language changes for the resolution that reflect this. So I'm trying to think out the wordsmithing of that sentence, but yeah,
Okay,
that gives preference for people who live in unincorporated areas and are affected by it.
yeah, so for purposes of tonight, we should make a motion to approve the responsibilities and duties, because that's not the rest of the document.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second time.
And then move the second, all in favor?
Hi.
All right, all opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. That's good discussion.
Now, C is a request to amend the mission statement. Kelly, that's you.
Well, that comes again on that unincorporated area, part that we put into our mission statement. I don't know if you're aware, but Herrera Park is now over the 10 parts per million limits, and they are in the incorporated city limits of Boardman. And there's 20 people on the system, and they're now over to 10. And we can't help them because we have limited ourselves to the unincorporated areas. And I think that we may have wells also in the Oregon area that are going to be in the same boat.
Because some households are entirely inside the city but don't have city water, they use their own well, yeah. The cities could probably tell you what that number is, I see your point.
Actually, they really can't. I've
Yeah.
asked them several times. They can't seem to.
Well, all
find
they
that
know
number.
is that they're not incorporated into the city, but because once if it's not they're not on the city system, they don't know what they do have.
I'm wondering why you can't sort through utility bills and see, but you wouldn't have a
wouldn't have-
utility bill, you wouldn't have, okay.
Yeah, they could see on a map that this place isn't annexed or is not receiving a water service, but that doesn't mean.
And there are also households who are annexed and part of the city, but have a private well, and some have both. I mean, I know of a couple in Oregon for sure.
What if you live in the city limits with a well? And you went to the city and said, I want to get hooked up, can they say no?
No,
I think that's right,
you have
yeah.
to, you have to pay for it, but they can't say
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, pay for, I mean, if I get a lateral to my house, who pays for that?
Probably you.
Brendan, are you
Yes,
still on the
not
call?
probably, I did it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, no, you
Yep.
take care of.
Can you help us out with some answers here?
So can you ask the question? There are several conversations going on. So just, what's the question?
How many wells do you have inside the city limits?
I have no idea. I know there are some. I think there's only one that I'm aware of where a landlord is choosing not to hook up to the city. That's his own choice. But I think that's the only one. Luis would have more of a history of that than I do. But there are some areas that there are wells connected.
So my next, as far as I recall, there's 3 wells inside the city limits that are not. Yeah, I think there's 3.
Including Herrera Park.
Well, and the owner of Herrera Park is subject because it's serving, how many? 20, and it's over 10 or over 20? Parts per
Well,
million.
if it's
Over
20, I think it's less than 20 because,
You're talking about small systems. She's talking about parts per million.
oh, sorry, my bad, thank you. Yeah,
So, yeah, so he meets a more rigorous regulatory threshold. He's legally obligated to either treat that system.
I don't
But
think he's even
he's not
considered
doing
a
anything.
small.
he's an
He's an
he's an OVS
VS, he's a
because,
VS, yeah.
because OHA reached out to me to ask if, and I talked to you
No,
about that.
he's a
What is an
CWS.
OVS?
He is a community water system because he's got more than 15 connections.
I think it said
Um,
residents.
I don't think he's got 15.
No, I don't
I
think
think it
he does.
was, it says 20 people are served with that. On the-
But he has less than 14 connections because the OHA confirmed that it's a OVS.
Okay,
He is
I
over
was
the
just
limit,
going,
and I just think
serves.
that it's time that Oregon's gonna have the same thing. I know for a fact that the Moose Lodge has their own well. You know, what they drink and what they use for different
And
things is their choice, but.
I have a lot of heartburn because he's a landlord and he's obligated to give his residents clean water.
Yeah, but a lot of these people in incorporated are landlords as well. I don't think income should have any bearing on, I mean, some of those people that rent their houses out there in West Glen are going to be landlords.
Yeah, but he has access to city water.
Yeah. How much is the connection, Brandon?
I'm not quite sure. I don't, but
It's
it's,
about
yeah, tens of
20,000, right?
to 20, over 20 plus. And again, what the fees are, those are SDC fees, and the city cannot waive SDC fees. I mean, if you want to get into it where we're saying I'll send you everybody. There's a ton of people that would like to get free hookup to the city water. Everyone has to pay SDC fees to charge to connect to the city water, like bar none. If they can go and get funds from wherever they are, but we cannot waive those fees. And this is not like a a clean
What-
nitrate water issue. This is an individual choice of whether you connect or not.
Yeah,
So
and we're not
those are
asking you to do
SDC
it.
fees.
I don't think we're asking the city for that, to do that. I'm talking about. what
Oh,
the
no, we
consortium
can't.
can do.
Yeah, there's a ton of people that would love to get free hookups. I can definitely send them your way.
Well,
I don't think
there's a
they-
ton of
they're-
people, I thought there were only 3 wells in the city of Boardman.
I think he's saying new construction basically, which is totally different in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, anybody
That's-
would love to get the SDCs waived.
Yeah, that is, I think that I would
That's
agree, it's a whole
disconnect,
different
yeah.
thing, yeah.
I do know, based on my research
No,
on
no.
OHA and other things, there are potentially some other funds available to him that aren't available to us, because there, like, for example, there is specifically a grant for OVS. It's like, it's specific to that, and a few other things that I've explored, but they're not applicable to us as a consortium, because we either don't have an existing system or all of the
very
other
small.
things. So I think there's places that he could go to get some additional help, or we could even provide that support without having to necessarily change our mission statement. If you direct me to help him, or we use our,
Oh,
not using our capital funds to provide this, but using
oh,
me
just your-
and or our other, like Dakota or whatever, as our other resources to help him.
Yeah.
And any other residents who could come. I think that I don't know. That's up to you guys. I know that my other contract with City of Umatilla, I've been directed at times to do things that just kind of fall outside. They're not really sure. You know what, you can use our consultant, and we'll pay our consultant to help you with that.
I think we're gonna run into the same problem in Oregon.
You will, yeah.
Well, it's,
And if we're here to help the people and help to get clean water to the people, and if he's, $20,000 or whatever is a big chunk of change. I don't care if you're making money or not. Just because you're making money, we shouldn't be doing this on income. And I know, like, some of the things HUD, that's
Mhm.
gonna limit a lot of people out of, our resources and our help. I just think if we're in it to help people, we should help people, no matter,
I think-
where they live.
I think wanting in-kind services of our grant writer and our administrator is helping people. He could tell them, okay, here's is that kind of,
But right now we
That's
say,
an option.
we've limited him to not go to Umatilla, and we're limiting him to the unincorporated areas.
no,
No, I don't think
of
so.
putting in the infrastructure. I'm just saying, we could probably deal with just a consensus. It's okay for you to go talk to them and give them advice, in-kind advice. And not physically go out there and put their infrastructure in, but just say, here, we understand, here's some grants that might be available.
Mhm.
And then, if you wanna,
So
Dakota,
we don't wanna help them. I mean, that's.
that is help.
That is.
Dakota is, he's on contract, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could ask him to do that under our contract. And we could say, okay, and then between the two of them, maybe get the guy a grant.
So rather than changing the mission statement, I mean, it's not as black and white. I'm seeing it, the gray area. So, I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. I think our primary mission is to address the drinking water in the unincorporated areas. But I think we could add something to our bylaws or a mission statement that says circumstances come up where the consortium can provide some assistance, that might not be financial assistance, for existing wells inside city limits that need to convert to a city. And that captures, I think, the issue where Brandon said there's hundreds of, those developers would love to avoid a system development charge. We're not interested in that and helping them. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
But if there's only
They don't have a
three,
contaminated well to deal with.
yeah, if there's only 3 or so in Boardman and maybe, I don't know, a handful in Oregon, if we could amend the bylaws
Just the mission statement. I mean, the mission statement is what we're talking about.
the mission statement, so that's right. So would it be the bylaws then we might wanna change?
We could, yeah.
It just, when it says unincorporated, it just limits us, and I think we're gonna run into this other places. And, you know, it's,
I always hate changing mission statements because I think those are powerful, but there might be a way to change, like, because our mission statement does say specifically affected by nitrate contamination. So people can't just come to us and say, well, I just want it. Like, it's specific to nitrate contamination. And if you were to take out throughout unincorporated areas, so you just say, you take out unincorporated areas and
Throughout
then
Morrow
put
County.
existing residents affected by, because that's the other issue. What if people move into the area and now all of a sudden,
drill a well and have bad water.
Brandon, would you approve a new development in the city and allow somebody to drill a well? Or like if somebody wants to build a house? Okay, so it's really the existing ones.
I just, if we're worried about new builds coming to us and applying,
That's right.
hey, we have nitrate contamination, and unless it's,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah,
if we're worried about that, that's where we could add that phrase.
but
I'm
does
only
that,
suggesting.
I think I'm hearing, maybe it's just me and Kelly. I think we want to find a way to help those people who currently, as of whatever date, rely on a well, but they're inside city limits. We do not want to exclude them. I'm just not so sure we need to amend the mission statement to do that. What else could we do?
Well, for outside the city limits, what are we doing?
This would
We're
cover all
designing
of
a
it.
water system to take a pipeline to their house,
Mhm.
is what we're doing.
And we might look
But
for funding
outside,
to
we're
deliver it.
also, paying to
Mhm.
deliver that water.
Mhm.
We're also putting in filters, and that's, if he has a small system,
We should be doing,
then he might need a RO system that's going to be extremely expensive
Well-
to install for his.
Or we pay to have him connected to city water.
Well, that becomes the question. Are you
Yeah.
willing to pay for him, use our infrastructure money to do that?
Mhm.
Or do we pursue alternative routes like grants that he might be eligible for?
Is he eligible for drinking water delivery inside the city?
I don't think so.
Does anybody know that answer to
I
that
don't know.
question?
Matt might know
is
that.
Robin on the phone?
Do we,
Not
does the
anymore.
county deliver, drinking water inside the city limits?
Specifics on,
Huh?
I don't have that specific.
Because we know he's over the limit. Those people are either drinking the water, which is terrible, or they're buying their own water, which is their only option.
Is Ronan still on?
No.
And I don't know why it would make any difference if your well was contaminated by nitrates. You should be able to sign up for the drinking water, but something needs to happen. I mean, obviously we have people in our area that are in the same boat as a little arbitrary line that we drew and said, we're not gonna help these people, we're gonna help these people, and I don't like that.
I want to say the only, and you pointed this out, the only difference is he does have access to clean water if he's willing to pay for it. All of our other people don't. They don't have another option.
They can put in their own RO systems. My son did. He paid for his own system.
Okay.
So, that's not even those are all options. So I think we need to be fair and not not draw a line.
And Brendan, are you on the call?
Yep, I'm here.
Did you offer to help him?
We offered to break up the bill just like we've done with anybody else. Again, we can't waive SDC fees. And if I could just share my 2 cents, your funds are limited. And again, if your focus is trying to bring clean drinking water, there is a difference, a clear difference between someone who has full access to it and is unwilling and is not willing to pay the money compared to someone who has no access to it. And I'm sorry that it is expensive, that stinks, but that is his responsibility as a landlord. Your funds are limited, and I would like to know if everyone in the West Glen, if they knew that you guys were spending money that could be spent to someone in the West Glen area who does not have access to clean drinking water, you're spending it to someone who is not willing to pay the money, who's a landlord. and who is making money and a profit off the people. I'd like to get that feedback.
Is he on city sewer?
Yeah,
I still like the idea of having either Jared or Nick Ducote point him in the direction of funding that's available to him. And I think you can do that without amending the bylaws. And that doesn't mean we're excluding them. It's just we're not going to, because our primary target is unincorporated, we have a couple of outliers, technically inliers, but that I think our intent, our mission statement doesn't preclude us from helping them. And I didn't look at this, I didn't go back and look at all of our bylaws, but I would say authorizing Jared, and if he wants to involve Nick also to help him, that's a good option.
Well, and I think that preserves the integrity, but at the same time, anytime we have people who fall outside this, like this case, at least it creates the conversation to say, yeah, we will definitely authorize that. Yes, we'll authorize that, as opposed to the wide of, we're looking at everything for all the different people in the unincorporated areas. For any exception, we need to bring it back to the board and talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how we're doing this right now, as opposed to changing the mission statement. We're not saying we're not exclusive, but anything that requires an exception requires you guys to talk about it and authorize it.
So we're okay to pay you guys to go do that, but we're not, so we are extending funds. But let's be clear that that is an expenditure of funds to an
It is.
unincorporated area,
To an incorporated
to
area,
an incorporated
Yep.
area.
right? Yeah,
Well, and we could come back and you could make a motion and a resolution to use funds to do that. I mean, if this is your committee or your board, but then that would fall outside, I think. I see a difference between infrastructure versus advise and assist, but maybe not. Maybe they're the same thing, so.
How much is it gonna cost you to take the grant program out to him and say, I mean, they just said Nick's under contract. What's it gonna cost for you to go tell him?
Well, if I were to help him write the grant, we're talking a few hours, so a few $100. So
I definitely support that. Do you think you need a board motion to do that?
I would like one just because it is outside, like I said, just we direct Jared to speak to the owner of Herrera Park and about
See what kind of,
possible alternative funding options.
yeah, help them explore alternative funding. I'd support that.
Okay.
Was that a motion?
Yeah, that's a motion. Do I hear a second? To instruct the,
second.
okay,
Jared to assist Mr. Herrera Park with exploring funding options for his well.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's just listed under Herrera Park, but I think Brandon knows his name, Brandon's that they've been in.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your vote, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign? Motion carried.
I'll talk to Brandon about who, do you know him?
I have met him once or twice. I think he used to come to the water meetings, and I don't think he's came in a long time.
Does he speak Spanish?
His son speaks pretty good English, and that's who I visited.
Do you know
Okay.
him?
OHA said that there was a language barrier.
Yeah.
That's.
I've always talked to the son.
Okay.
On a related topic, I wonder if there's a GIS, if it's possible to identify which parcels in the cities are not connected to the city and have an individual well. I can ask Stephen in my office about that.
Yeah, I could.
It seems like if Rona was, you can,
My
Yeah.
neighbor has one.
your neighbor has one?
What, no,
On
what would be the
Columbia.
end, I'm sorry.
Oh,
As a
yeah,
well.
he has a well on Columbia.
I think there's more than everybody thinks.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, the idea would be, how many more of
but
these?
this one's the only
Yeah,
one
I
not
know,
on
but
city
what would be
water.
the end goal for
They're not-
this group to know that
One
information?
well that's next door to it.
Just to have an idea of whether or not
The one house that has a pool in
How-
the backyard, like 2 houses.
how we're going to address those
I just think we need to
situations.
help whoever we can help.
I agree.
If we're gonna address them, first we have to decide that.
So for right now,
It's
and
just
I don't,
information gathering.
it, the advisory committee, I'd like those to come to our attention and figure out a way. If not, maybe we need to adopt a policy. Maybe we don't directly spend capital funds, but we share the technical expertise from Jared and the grant
I
writer.
agree with that. I just was kind of curious of what,
Yeah.
where
Where
we're
we
gonna
would
go
go.
with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, our last business item. Letter to the city of Boardman, that's Kelly.
I wrote the letter, in response to not having a interpreter at the meeting. I know we had asked for it. And, I went back and kind of reviewed the laws on what they have to do and what they don't have to do. They have to provide you with a interpreter for hearing impaired. That's the law.
Mhm.
The rest of it is more so of a federal law. If the city receives federal funding, they, under the, I forget what it was called. The National Origin Discrimination Law of the federal government, really relies on, you know, that and if we're not providing those services, especially where it was asked for in advance. And
We asked for that.
we did.
Jared, you
Well,
did that?
I informed Brandon that there was a request from members of West Glen to have a Spanish interpreter.
And I think Matt did as well.
Yes, he did.
I think he had Matt did as well.
Yeah, we both.
So we asked for that and did not receive it, and so there was 9 or 10 of the people that came to the meeting. Had no idea of what was said about their water source. And if we're going to run government agencies that inform the public, then we need to provide that. And I was not too happy. And then we had to have a meeting to discuss with those people with an interpreter of what went on and how it was brought forward. And it's, you know, especially where we asked, you know, ahead of time and an appropriate time limit. And, you know, they could make a case for discrimination. And
Not against this group.
not against this group so much,
Okay.
no. But we need to,
It wasn't our meeting.
it wasn't our meeting, but where it was asked for, I would like to send this letter, and I will probably send it with or without, this group's, blessing, because I really felt like those 10 people sat in that whole meeting and had no idea what was going on. And it's their lives and their water, their health, and I didn't find it wasn't a funding issue, it's not anything issue. They have money, they have interpreters. It just didn't happen.
Brandon, can we put you on the spot and ask you a question?
Yeah.
Does the city have a policy about providing translators?
No, we do not. And we're not required, and we don't. None of our meetings, there's not been one meeting that we do. Now, we will do interpreters when we have when we've done our plan updates, development code, surveys, stuff like that. There will be translators, but for any of our meetings, workshops, we do not. And if anybody needs one, they just need to bring someone with them. So yeah.
So you do for workshops, but not formal council meetings?
Not no. Not for
No.
workshops or any city meetings, but for like community outreach things, we have. But that was a workshop, so we don't for workshops.
Workshops.
And again, typically our translators, we are not we do not have certified translators. So when you're doing a meeting, you have to have a level of translation, and we don't have that. So, and nor will we.
So maybe it's up to this group to provide that service.
Well, I don't
Anybody who wants to do it can come and do it.
Well, I don't want to step on the city's toes. I just wanted to know if that's a de facto policy or a deliberate policy. I know for the planning commission, we now have a certified translator and she will provide that. Sometimes people ask in advance and sometimes it's just impromptu. Sometimes people bring a family member or neighbor to translate. We do that also in the courts. Municipal court,
They're required by
Court
law,
would be required.
in the court,
They are
in the
required
court,
by law.
to have a translator, that makes a difference.
and they have a service that can provide that to them.
I would say if somebody, I don't know, I'm just a little surprised where you're 50+% Spanish speaking in Boardman and that's not a routine function of the city.
And I got a question, Isabel. Yeah, I've never tried them, but do I see things on TV where you download something to your phone and it translates it? Have you tried those?
I have not tried it.
I
think the translation app on like an iPhone comes with it
yeah,
and it listens and it'll translate back.
yeah. What if,
I don't know if it works or not.
There's technology that actually works really, I can tell you in schools, they use it a lot.
what if the person
It's
comes
automatic.
to a city, to a meeting, whatever? I mean, they're gonna talk about the consortium tomorrow. I don't know, maybe not, maybe they aren't, but, if somebody came to the meeting with the phones, sat there and watched the phone or had earbuds, they could hear in Spanish what people were saying in English, according to the advertising I've seen. So,
Question I have is, did the consortium ask for an interpreter?
We did not ask on behalf of the consortium. We informed the city that there were residents. We were told that there were going to be residents who speak Spanish who are going to be in attendance, and they are requesting Spanish translation.
Okay.
I was careful not to, I was careful not to say that the consortium is, because we were the guest at their meeting.
Mhm.
I get that. I was just thinking if we had asked and we're told that the city doesn't do that, we might have had time to try and find that.
That would be, yeah, I mean, I don't wanna
I-
be driving city policy, but if
No,
that's
no.
required in the future, I think we should find a way to fund that. If it has to do with water and clean drinking water, I think we should find a way to fund that.
Or we can, anytime we will be there, then we will bring our own interpreter. We could, we actually already have them. I have some of that allocated in our budget that you have
Okay.
approved as
Oh, good.
translation.
Okay, great.
Anticipating similar
Mhm.
things.
okay,
Is, Brandon, would that work for you?
So the only, it would just need to find a way that it wouldn't disrupt the meeting, because I know, I mean, again, I've been involved with translation and finding a good location that they could do that it wouldn't disrupt, but yeah, I'm sure you could have a door open outside and do the outside translation for them speaking. Again, it's a pretty small room. And it wasn't just anything. We have had requests for translation. We just do not provide translation services. Because
Okay.
again, I know we are predominantly Spanish, but you could have someone ask for Russian. I mean, you just have to ask. It would have to be the same. You do it for one, you do it for all. And right now,
Sure.
we're not required to. So.
okay,
So I think you wrote a good letter, Kelly. my comfort, because we are going to be doing a lot of interaction with boardmen in the future. This might just be a personal style issue. I'm not comfortable signing this letter to the city, but if you want to, that's fine. But I think I'm supportive of making a commitment to paying for translators in the future who attend city meetings and other venues where a translator is needed, as if the discussion topic is related to our mission to provide clean drinking water.
Would that be every time Jared goes to a meeting?
Well, I would say anytime that we are informed, because in public meeting law, they have to request it. Request the translation, and the way the law is written, if it's requested in a reasonable amount of time, every reasonable effort will be made to provide that translation.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, is that the city of Irving, if you're gonna go talk to them, they wanna talk to you about how the project's proceeding and stuff. Do you need to take a interpreter with that?
If there's a request made to
Well,
us.
Under what Tamara said is you just do it automatically, right, Tamara? Or
As long as it's requested.
Oh, it's a request. Oh, okay, gotcha. Understood. I thought it was just that you were gonna make it standard and
Well-
every time we went.
So is that just on your meeting notice?
No, but sometimes we usually have an idea if something's on the agenda and we have Spanish speakers. Also, the office manager, office assistant she's at every meeting and she can translate. So it's and the county authorized a pay increase for people who serve as translators, and she got her certification. It's very convenient to do that, by the way, Brandon, and I think you have several bilingual city staff. And I don't want to tell the city how to run their business, but I want to make sure that people who want to listen and engage in a discussion about water have the translator.
If I could just provide some information for how the county does it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So we have this disclosure on all of our agendas that's also on the consortium agenda. The meeting location is accessible to persons with disabilities. A request for an interpreter for the hearing impaired or other accommodations for persons with disabilities should be made at least 48 hours in advance. In the time I've been doing this, I haven't had a single request. We do have through Zoom the option
Yeah.
that Zoom attendees can have live translation in subtitles as they're watching.
That has worked well.
But your notice doesn't include language
Right,
Right, we
translation.
don't include language, but we do have that Zoom option. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty good.
But the responsibility is on the county to take care of that.
Mhm.
And what we're talking about is putting the responsibility on this group when we go to someplace like the city. It's not putting the responsibility on the city.
Yeah, that's just like another option.
Yeah, I know.
And
I just wanna make sure
I think
It's
there's a
clear.
pretty clear-cut federal law that says that it's discrimination if you don't provide that service when asked. Especially if you're taking federal dollars.
not on this group.
Oh, it would affect this group as well,
If we didn't.
if we
provide it.
didn't
Correct.
provide that and it was asked for and we take federal dollars. So I think that it's something very serious and it's something that, if they want to take it up, they may.
Well. Okay, so I gotta get this straight. Make sure we separate us from the city. If somebody made a request for this group to have a translator every time they went to the city of Boardman, we would be in violation of the law if we didn't bring our own
No,
translator.
that's not what we're saying.
I know, but it sounds like we're, I think you said,
Could it also?
you said you're in the violation. You said you.
We're taking federal dollars and we don't provide an interpreter, we could be subject to the discrimination laws.
Well, that's what I just said. We would be. You said
We would.
it's not our meeting.
If it is our meeting, we have to follow the same laws.
Well, I understand that, but the city council meeting was not our meeting.
I didn't say it was.
Okay.
I'm just, that's why the letter was written to them, to let them know that, these are the rules.
So what's it cost to get those headphones?
The county has them.
We have them,
Yeah.
but the public health
The
department
public
has
health
them.
has them, whole bunch of them.
Okay,
We should probably bring those to,
North Morrow County.
well, yeah, I think they're in the Boardman office, the public health office.
Yeah.
But those headphones only work if you have somebody there who's translating, right?
Mhm.
So,
But that makes it easier in terms of distributing it without them having to be in a different location.
And disruption.
Yeah.
It eliminates the disruption. And there is disruption, and I'm not gonna tell you there's not, because we held our meetings and we have one person speaking English and they say the sentence, turn around and speak it in Spanish. It doubles the time of the meeting.
yeah,
It's definitely,
I don't think that's not the effective way to go. by
Yeah,
any
it's
means.
not. That's where we're at in our community meetings. It's,
Well, I would ask that we ask the county to lend that equipment out, as needed for the mission of this group.
yeah. I think so too. And, it might be worth getting a legal opinion from our lawyer I mean, Kelly said it's a federal law. I take you at your word for it, but see what her advice is. And then does that mean we impromptu provide Spanish translation or only when it requested in advance?
Well, the law has always been pretty clear. It needs to be requested in advance because you can't anticipate who's going to be at your meeting. So
Okay.
they have the obligation to inform you that they will be there and need a different language.
Okay.
But again, we're kind of merging, this is
There's a
multiple
couple, yes,
conversations
it is.
here.
It sure is,
I
yeah.
think we are in agreement that as a consortium, we will provide translation services for people as needed for
Yeah.
consortium related business and meetings. The letter is specific to what the city of Boardman decided to do and whether we as a consortium are going to reprimand or send a letter to the city of Boardman or not. So that's two different things. And we could have a motion or something about the consortium. Well, we would either way, but
Mhm.
it is two different things. So I just want to clarify.
I don't want Clean Water Consortium to send this letter to the city board, period.
I
And
would-
we've talked to them. We're
Yeah.
going to have our own solution.
I would be in favor of a motion that clarifies this group, Jared, what to do.
Mm.
In a specific situation
Sure.
where we get a request.
Yeah.
When it's our meeting, I would be in favor of that.
I think there are more fruitful ways to address that than us taking feels like a more hostile posture with the city. I don't disagree with the principle of it. I do think the city should provide translators. That's not the role of the consortium.
Sure.
So I can make a motion that I'm not in favor of the consortium signing the letter, but
You just don't need any motion.
we don't need any motion, but
You would need a motion to have sign the letter. Or to send the letter on behalf of.
I am in favor. I would make a motion that we ask Jared to make sure that we are set up to provide translation if we're requested in this group. And then also, if that also means that you can coordinate with Brandon, so if he has that request, we can make the county headset and another translator available. I wouldn't even mind using consortium. We have $5,000 in our budget for translation to help people who are at the city meeting with the translation.
No, I like that idea because that's part of our outreach. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I like.
Yeah.
I just,
We'd
Yeah.
have to find the interpreter
Yeah, we have
regardless.
it.
There's a handful of them
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
No.
People like to make a little
I
extra
like
pocket
that.
change. And it should be a certified translator. I'm gonna have one in my office. There's
definitely
three,
should be certified.
there's 4, 5 that work in the North Morrow Annex. They're all certified. They might be willing to
Well,
make a
and-
little pocket change.
And I could be wrong, but the rule is make your best effort. So if you can get a certified, great. That is
I
the
see.
gold standard.
Sure.
If you can get someone who's not certified, great. It's not the gold standard, but you're
Mm.
making an attempt.
Spanish.
Not enough to translate. I can do conversational. Should ask Anne Maria, because we went and did some visits this week and She took me to a lot of Spanish speaking households and I make some little chit chat, but then when we start to get into technical things, I'm like, okay, it's all you. I can understand really well.
Okay.
I do like the idea of Tamara's idea is to get some legal counsel on the federal law as well.
I wrote
For our group,
that.
for our group,
Yeah.
yeah.
So just real quick before we get, because they're not my meetings, they're the councils, I will share the information with the council about the group wanting to have translators at meetings various times. So I'll let the council know.
And,
that's
and, what-
good.
and
Thank
I'm
you,
not the
Brandon.
county, but it sounds like the county would be willing to lend the
The headsets.
headsets as needed. Which would make it a lot more convenient too, so.
Those were donated to the county some time ago, Rob. We just talked about them today because it's over $5,000, so we have to inventory them. So there's some value to them. I'm sure Robin and Public Health wouldn't mind.
Okay. You said you
That would
don't
be
need a
good.
motion to do this.
We'd only need the motion if we're going to send the letter on behalf.
Yeah, okay.
I
You
appreciate
can have a
that.
motion to direct me to do that. I mean, I was gonna do it anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right,
All
sounds
right,
good.
so we don't.
And I appreciate that you brought this to our attention, Kelly. I just think.
And I will probably send it with my own name on it as well, because I think that it's very important, and I think that the city council needs to understand that there was 10 people sitting in their council chambers that couldn't understand a word they said that's gonna affect their lives, and like you said, 50% Hispanic in their community,
Mhm.
is very important, and we, you know, I'm the one that asked Jared to ask, and I asked Matt as well, so, you know, I foresaw it coming, and I asked for extra chairs and the translator, and.
Mhm.
They did set up the extra chairs.
Okay. The last item is public comment. Is there anyone in the room okay, no. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? Raise your hand. Okay, we don't hear any, so with that, any more other business isn't on here, so I'm just gonna adjourn. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.